Hey everyone, Dan here. I want to show you how to focus your viewers' attention on your subject matter in a portrait. Now, a lot of the times you may not be able to control all the lighting exactly the way they want, especially on an in-action environmental portrait like this. So what I really want to do is show you how to defocus on some of the distractions like this ugly green dumpster back here and some of the eye-catching contrast on these conduits and really focus on the bride and the groom. And there's kind of two different ways that you can do that photographically. One is with a hue shift or a color shift, making the subject and the background different colors so they pop out. And another great way to do it is to reduce the brightness or the detail in the area that you want to minimize to help reduce those distractions. I'm going to show you how to kind of use a combination of both on this one, and then on your photos you can decide what works best for you. I'm going to do this work in effects. I think that's probably the best place to do it because I really need all the fine local controls. Although you could probably do a lot of it with the local adjustments pane inside of Develop as well. The first thing I want to do is I want to add a lens blur filter, and that's going to help reduce some of the detail and sharpness on the left and the right hand side. So I'm going to click on Add Filter, and I'll select Lens Blur. Now the reason I use Lens Blur over another blur is I think Lens Blur looks the most realistic to the blur you'd see in the camera. It doesn't get that smushy, smudgy that you would get with like a Gaussian blur. Instead, this looks like photographic blur because it really is. All right, I'm just going to adjust my amount a little bit here, see how fast that is. Kind of pick what I think looks good, about 20. I'm going to grab the brightness slider, and I'm going to bring it down. Again, making the area that you don't want them to look at darker is a great way to do that. Also, decreasing the contrast is a great way to do that as well. So I've got a pretty big decrease in brightness and contrast. Now I just need to bring my bride and groom back. Now, it's unrealistic to try to paint them all the way back in. The better way to do it is to use a gradient tool, and I'm just going to select Reflected Gradient and click. Orient it to match my subject, and then adjust the solid lines out to the edge. Like so. I'm actually going to let the edge of her dress get a little blurry for a moment. You can then adjust the dotted lines. Those are the feather lines, how quickly it transitions the effect in or out. I'm going to use kind of a longer one on this side and a short transition on this side. That's kind of the cool thing is I can dial in how quickly I want those to transition on each side. And then to clean up the edge of the dress, I'll just grab the brush tool and I'm just going to paint out that little bit of blur on the edge of the dress. There we go. All right, let me turn that on and off so you can see. There's before and after. So it's already starting to make them pop out a bit more from the background. Now, let's just kind of repeat that process again, but with a couple different filters. Now I'm going to use that same mask. So let's grab the mask, open it up, hit copy. Now I've got that mask and I can use it again. Now another great way to bring the subject out and to push the background back is to change the color. So typically the warmer colors are the ones you want to see and the cooler colors are the ones that are going to recede and be less interesting, or the more saturated in what you want to look at and the less saturated in the ones you don't. So adding a color enhancer is going to be my next step. I'll grab that color enhancing filter. I'm going to cool down the whole photo and I'm going to pull the saturation out a bit. So I'm making it a bit cooler and a bit more muted. And you know, while I'm here, I want to take the green of that dumpster and I want to make it a little less green. So I'm just going to grab the green color range and I'm going to pull even more saturation out of that green. There we go. Now we want to bring the bride and groom back. So we'll open up the mask. I'll paste that mask that I saved from the last filter. There we go. So now my color change, that making it cooler, making it less saturated, is applied to the same area that we blurred in the previous step. Let me turn that on and off so you can see. There's the color shift before and after the color shift. All right, the next step is we're going to take our bride and groom and we want to make them pop out a bit more by making them a little bit sharper. The opposite of what we've done to the rest of the scene. We want to make them a little bit more vivid and a little bit more crisp. A great tool for doing that is dynamic contrast. So we'll add a dynamic contrast. I'm just going to use the natural style to start with. And I'm going to use that same mask. So I open it up, I hit paste. Now the trick is I want to add it to the opposite. I don't want to add it to the area that I've blurred. I want to add it to them. So I just hit the invert button. There we go. See, that's a big difference. So now that dynamic contrast, that extra oomph that it gives us is going to apply just to the bride and groom. I can make any other adjustments I want to while I'm here. I think I might boost up the vibrance a little bit. See how that only affects the area that we're interested in? Awesome. All right, let's take a look at the overall before and after so you can see where we started at. There's the original photo out of the camera. And there it is just by stacking a couple filters here in Effects. We're able to minimize those distractions in the background, making them less prominent by making them softer, by decreasing their color saturation and making them cooler. And in inverse to our foreground, we make them sharper and more vivid so they pop out more. All right, one more step. Let's add a vignette. Click on Add Filter. We'll add a vignette. And we'll use my trusted big softy there. That might be a little too strong. I'll just adjust it back a little bit. Awesome. There we go. All right. One more thing that's driving me crazy is this little light trap from his shirt poking through. So I'm just going to grab the perfect eraser while I'm here, and let's just wipe that guy out. There you go. All done. We've shown you some great tips on how to focus your viewer's attention on your subject and minimize those distractions. Thanks for watching.